What's good, guys? I see you guys in the chat. I apologize. Just let me get this ready for you guys. As I said, I was thrown off by this too. I wasn't expecting it. We'll be ready very soon. Mind you, I don't think they were expecting it either, because it was supposed to happen about an hour and a half ago, and it got delayed.
This hearing will come to order. I'd like to first thank our witness, Dr. John Kozlowski, for testifying. He is our newly appointed director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, an office Congress established in the fiscal year 2022 NDAA to investigate this very serious problem of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or UAP. Dr. Kozlowski comes to ARROW from the Research Directorate of the National Security Agency, where he worked in areas of optics research and crypto mathematics. He previously served at the DoD Special Communications Enterprise Office. We look forward to regular engagements between you and the committee. When unidentified anomalous phenomenon enter our airspace, we need to know about it. We need to identify it, but in order to do that, we need to reduce the stigma and credibility challenges associated with these events. Our service members, scientists, foreign partners, and the general public need to know that their reporting, research, and analysis will be taken seriously and acted on in good faith. In the spirit of transparency, ARROW recently released a consolidated annual report just a few months after releasing the first volume of a historical record report in March of this year. These public documents help highlight the challenges still facing this office, including the lack of timely and actionable sensor data, the need to revisit cases placed in the active archive, and the importance of improving reporting sources, both in the interagency and internationally. In this hearing, I want to probe a series of specific issues. First, As incidents at Langley and elsewhere have demonstrated,
I have my
unmanned
books for
aerial
notes.
systems, or UAS, continue to pose significant threats to our national security. In addition to safety of flight issues these UAS create for our own pilots and aircrew, the UAS present clear and undeniable counterintelligence concerns around some of the most sensitive airspace. While standard UAS are not part of AARO's mission, your work on sensors at military installations across the country will be critical to making sure that we have the domain awareness necessary to accurately identify and track these objects.
Again, this all just
I expect your office to also pay close attention to any anomalous characteristics that these systems could present in the future. Second, I look forward to your presentation of 3 case studies demonstrating cases that AARO has resolved, including the Go Fast, which is one of the most prominent UAP cases. However, I believe it is important to acknowledge ongoing public interest in the Nimitz incident, the gimbal video, and other prominent UAP cases, and for AARO to share what it can about those cases as well. It's also important that AARO speak to unresolved cases and what types of anomalous activity have merited further analysis. And while I know AARO has gone through a period of transition over the past year, it is important to share these disclosures, both resolved and unresolved cases, with the public, even when a Senate hearing is not scheduled. Lastly, while some have been hesitant to come forward to AARO in the past, I hope that potential individuals with firsthand knowledge of unreported programs view your arrival in this position as an opportunity for a new start. AARO was created by Congress to do this work. Congress waived non-disclosure agreements for those who disclose information to AARO and gave AARO the authority to go and turn over every rock. I hope those with information to share use this opportunity so that we, as your senators who represent you, can do our jobs. I look forward to hearing more on these issues from Dr. Kozlowski and for members to start a dialogue on this important topic. With that, I would like to turn to Senator Ernst for her opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Kozlowski. Our hearing today is about identifying UAPs and understanding their potential implications, which could range from technological advancements to potential threats to our national security. Are these phenomena tied to foreign adversaries such as China or Russia, leveraging advanced technologies beyond our current capabilities?
Which is
or
possible.
do they
It
represent unknown scientific phenomena that challenge our current understanding? We must answer these critical questions to ensure that our national security is not compromised. It is vital that all agencies work in tandem to aggregate data, identify patterns, and develop robust analytical frameworks. Our ability to detect, track, and respond to UAPs requires the latest technology and full cooperation from all government branches. Thanks very much, Dr. Kozlowski, for your attention to this matter, and I look forward to the valuable insights that you and AARO can provide to our committee, and I yield back. Thank you.
That was, okay, girl.
Dr. Kozlowski, please make your opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gillibrand, Ranking Member Ernst, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. It is a pleasure to be here on behalf of the Department of Defense as the new director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a status update on AARO's work and respond to your questions about unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or UAP. On behalf of the department and the entire AARO team, I want to say how grateful we are to Congress for its continued support. Unidentified objects in any domain pose potential threats to U.S. safety and security. Reports of UAP activity, particularly near national security sites, must be treated seriously and investigated with scientific rigor by the U.S. government. By way of introduction, I'm John Kozlowski. I'm a researcher at my core with an academic background in mathematics, physics, and engineering. I've spent most of my career at the National Security Agency, leading advanced research in the areas of optics, computing, and cryptomathematics. By nature, I am drawn to tough scientific problems, which is what brought me to AARO and the UAP mission. Since I arrived at AARO in August, I've been impressed by the breadth and depth of my team's experience and the framework they've established to rigorously analyze UAP reports. AARO has taken meaningful steps to improve data collection and retention, bolster sensor development, effectively triage UAP reports, and reduce the stigma of reporting UAP events. Last year, AARO worked with the DoD's Joint Staff to issue guidance to defense personnel worldwide on how to report UAP observations and is working with the military services regarding implementation. Arrow has also launched a public website that features UAP imagery, case resolutions, material analysis, archival records, and more. These are only a few examples of Arrow's recent progress, and we're just getting started. To date, Arrow has over 1,600 UAP reports in its holdings from across the U.S. government. I'll share a slide in just a few minutes with updated UAP analytic trends. You'll see that many reports resolve the commonplace objects like birds, balloons, and unmanned systems, while others lack sufficient data for comprehensive analysis. Although only a small percentage of reports received by Arrow are potentially anomalous, these are the cases that require significant time, resources, and a focused scientific inquiry by Arrow and its network of partners. It is important to underscore that, to date, Arrow has not discovered any verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology.
Jay,
to accomplish Arrow's national security mission, I have set 3 priorities for the office: building strong partnerships, promoting transparency, and scaling up the work of the office. Arrow cannot do its work alone. Building partnerships across government, academia, industry, and with the public is essential to the success of the office. Strong cooperation with the military services is particularly important. We rely on their support to implement our reporting guidance and to amplify the message that there should be zero stigma associated with UAP reporting. We also rely on partnerships with the national labs, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, NASA, all of which a role in the whole of government effort to address UAP. Recognizing the talent and expertise that reside outside of the government, Arrow will continue to explore new ways to partner with the academic and scientific communities to investigate its most complex UAP cases. A related priority for Arrow is transparency. Our ability to collaborate with key partners, including the scientific community and the public, relies on information sharing, to include downgrading and declassifying UAP-related information.
I think it is.
In some cases, it may be unclear to the public why the DoD classified a piece of information in the first place. Why are photos of seemingly benign objects such as balloons classified? It's often the case that an object or phenomenon isn't itself a security concern, but the location, source, or method used to capture it is still sensitive. Many cases are difficult to quickly release to the public, but are reported to the appropriate committees in Congress that are authorized by law or House and Senate leadership.
Sorry, I don't want to speak over him. I don't believe so. I just read what you said about them ending our wars. They wouldn't end our wars. They wouldn't start them either. But I don't think that we don't go and end monkeys fighting or stop animals from eating each other. So why would they do it to us? If they are that advanced, we're just as primitive as monkeys or however we see animals to them. Like maybe they're just like, oh, don't interfere with nature. Let them do whatever they're doing. I could see that more than I could see them. I mean, I'm sure some are sinister, but I don't think like they're just all sinister.
To receive the information. It is important to note that Arrow does not unilaterally declassify information. Instead, we work with the originator of a classified record to ensure that declassifying that record does not inadvertently harm national security. This can take time. Nonetheless, the department is committed to declassifying and publicly sharing more information on UAP while protecting sensitive sources and methods. I'll be sharing some newly declassified imagery in just a few minutes.
Newly declassified imagery?
Arrow is also working closely with the National Archives and Records Administration to make UAP-related documents publicly available in a digitized collection. Meanwhile, Arrow continues to review the U.S. historical record relating to UAP. We welcome any former or current government, civilian, contractor, or military service member with relevant information to reach out to us at www.arrow.mil. My final priority is scaling up Arrow's work to match its mission. Arrow needs to bolster the quantity, quality, and diversity of data that it acquires and examines. This means tapping into existing data sources within the interagency while deploying Arrow's own organic sensor capabilities. To the extent that UAP results from the domain awareness gaps, more and better data will help us fill those gaps and help us understand what is being encountered. In closing, Arrow is committed to the highest standards of scientific integrity. We will not foreclose on any explanation for UAP prematurely. We will continue to follow the science and data wherever they lead. We will continue to have an open and frank dialogue with Congress in settings like these and in classified briefings. We will continue to keep you fully and currently informed of all
welcome,
UAP information, active or historical. And finally, we will share as much information as possible at the unclassified level to inform the public of AARO's activities and its findings. For now, I'd like to turn to a brief presentation of UAP trends and cases, and then I'd be happy to take questions.
I want to see these declassified images he's talking about.
Okay, this chart represents the UAP reporting since 1996, and as has previously been discussed by AARO, that sensor placement seems to have caused a bias in our data, both geographic and at altitude. And we're working to resolve that bias in 2025 or reduce that bias through broader engagements with the DoD as well as the IC and the rest of the government, also by incorporating broader sensors into our data and through a public reporting mechanism that we hope to have live in mid-2025. On the left side, it shows the altitudes, and we'll see it's a bit cut off. We'll see that most of the reporting occurs between 15,000 and 25,000 feet. That happens to be where most of our sensors are. And the reporting above and below that is also often coming from those same platforms. In the center, we'll see that the resolved cases have the vast majority being balloons and UAS. We're seeing a great increase in satellites recently, particularly with the launch of mega satellite constellations such as Starlink, where the satellites are catching what is called satellite flares or glint off the sun just after sunset or just before sunrise. And on the rightmost, we'll see the morphology or the shapes that have been reported. The majority have been lights or orbs. We think that there's going to be an increase in the lights with the mega constellations, but our most interesting cases, some of which I'll discuss later, are actually the shapes such as the triangles or the cylinders. And at the bottom, we'll see the geographic bias that I mentioned before, where most of the reports historically had been near the government sites. This bias has been reduced recently by reporting from the FAA. We now get weekly reports from them. And great thank you to our aviators for making those reports. It helps our analysis.
One of my theories about AI, aliens, and life, and I love that you said about AI robotics, because it could be, check out that video, either when we're done with this or now, whenever you want to. It's a really good watch.
A bit. Okay, a case that we thought would be a transmedium case as it was reported is well known on the outside, known as the Puerto Rico case.
Oh, yeah.
It was data collected in 2013 when a Customs and Border Patrol aircraft observed an object flying near an airport in Puerto Rico. The green line in this diagram is the track that the airplane was taking, and those many crossed lines are the directions that the camera was facing at the time that the airplane was flying around the airport, and we'll watch the video in just a moment. The orange arrow in the center is where we assess that the UAP was actually flying, and transmedium means that it goes from one domain into another. In this case, it looks like it goes from the air into the water and then back into the air. We assessed that it was actually flying over the airport the entire time.
Oh.
And this video was taken with infrared, and what appears to be the transmedium part where it goes into the water is actually where the temperature of the water is equal to the temperature of the object, and the camera can no longer distinguish between the two. It's not that the object actually goes into the water.
Oh, that actually,
and so we assessed that the object, likely a pair of balloons or sky lanterns, was floating at about 7 knots over the airport and descending to about 200 meters. And this video will be released, and our report will be released later this year. The Go Fast was captured the public attention and congressional attention when it was made public in 2017. Looks like an object flying very fast over the water, very close to the water. Through a very careful geospatial intelligence analysis using trigonometry, we assess with high confidence that the object is not actually close to the water, but is rather closer to 13,000 feet. Diagram here shows as the platform is flying and capturing the object, if it is closer to the platform at a higher altitude, a trick of the eye called parallax makes it look like the object is moving much faster. And so we've written a detailed paper on parallax, released that on our website so that the public can literally check our math on this analysis.
Okay.
An interesting case, which I don't believe the public is familiar with,
I will
is
say I don't know.
captured in 28.
No. Because we all know what parallax is. We all... freaking Apple, before Steve Jobs died, made a whole fucking parallax thing on the iPhone, and everyone started looking at parallax then. My thing is, pilots, military personnel, they're going to know what parallax is. So if they see something, they would be able to tell us, oh no, it's just parallax. And they didn't say that. So I do disagree with that assessment. I do believe what he's saying about the Puerto Rico case, how the object could have just been the same temperature as the water, and it made it look like it was transmedian. But I disagree that the Go Fast video was due to parallax. Like, they were actually tracking the speed. It's not that it was moving with their eyes. It's a trick of the eye, like he said. The sensors aren't tricked. The sensors know what's happening. Okay.
From a UAV flying in the Mediterranean, watching Mount Etna as it was erupting, and it appears that that object is flying through the plume of superheated gas and ash. This was a rather difficult case to resolve. We had to pull in support from a number of IC and S&T partners and even reach out to a volcanologist. And through very detailed 3D modeling and pixel-by-pixel analysis of the object as it's traversing across the clouds, they assessed that the object was actually 170 meters away from the plume and not flying through it. And to be clear, Aero does not believe every object is a bird, a balloon, or a UAV. We do have some very anomalous objects. It's just the nature of resolution. We can only resolve things that we understand. So we're now working on additional products where we can inform the public, Congress, and others.
See, I like that he admits that there are anomalies and there are things they don't understand. And he's just saying, like, this is how we're assessing the situation. I don't know why he's saying, like, the Puerto Rico case, I can consider that debunked. I understand what he's saying with the temperature. I actually 100% get it. It makes total freaking sense. The Go Fast, I'm not convinced. The Mount Etna UFO, all he said is that it was 170 meters away from the plume. Okay. What was it? There's not an airplane that's going to be flying 170 meters from a volcano anyway. So that didn't give us an answer. That gave us where positioning in space it was, but not what it was, even though they went pixel for pixel. I think that's interesting. But I do love that he admits that some of this is anomalous.
Of the objects as we're studying them, rather than once we've resolved them. With that, I'll take your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Kozlowski. I appreciate your testimony. It's been widely reported that individuals claiming first-hand knowledge of unreported UAP programs have been reluctant to engage with Aero. What message do you have for those individuals, and how will you work to gain their trust?
I would let them know that Congress has gone out of its way to create the organization Aero specifically to conduct these sorts of investigations and has uniquely empowered them to have access to all UAP-related information, whether that's historic or current. Mm-hmm. And we take that responsibility and those authorities very seriously. And so we have been reaching out to a broader community, encouraging folks who had talked to Aero personnel in the past and maybe felt uncomfortable to come back.
Because then you guys can't hear, which I'm doing right now. So sorry for pausing again. But I just want to say, I love that he also mentioned historical. Because let's say, hypothetically speaking, okay, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the Go Fast. I don't agree with the Etna. But he is claiming that because of the information he gave, that is just as solved as the Puerto Rico case. Okay, let's take that in. Let's take Puerto Rico case, let's take Go Fast, let's take Mount Etna, and say, okay, well, that's like resolved. It was like a balloon or whatever, some mundane freaking, yeah, it's a great explanation. Yeah, well, that's what it is. How do you then explain the historical ones? How do you explain the UAP that were flying around before our technology could even do half the stuff that it's doing now? Like, those would still not make sense. So there's still a lot of questions. And again, I love that he's admitting that there are some anomalies, but I do feel like, I see you guys in the chat, I do feel that he's trying his best to explain away a lot of his UAPs. Like that Mount Etna one doesn't sit right with me.
We've met with several of their interlocutors and a couple of firsthand witnesses, and we are making great progress. And those firsthand witnesses that we have talked to do feel comfortable coming back to us. And so we hope that more folks that do have information would go to www.arrow.mil, fill out the form, send it to us so we can bring them in for interviews and add their information to our investigations.
Thank you, Wolf.
Thank you. I recently just read your report from March, your historic report, and I would encourage anyone who's interested in this topic to read the report, because when I was asked by a reporter about it, they said, well, it doesn't show any evidence of secret programs that have aliens. That's not how I read the report. What I read the report is the U.S. government took sightings extremely seriously over the last 75 years, put some of the greatest minds ever to analyze these cases because they assess them as some deeply unknown phenomena that may or may not cause threats, that may or may not be related to adversaries, but are certainly something that the U.S. government needed to know about. And what I read from this report is that we resolved numbers of cases, but in almost every instance, whether it was in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the noughts, half the cases were unresolved. So I don't think this is an example of the government not taking these cases seriously. I think this is an example of our government spending 75 years taking these cases very seriously. And interestingly, for the group that put together this report, they didn't have access to any firsthand reporting. And so from my perspective, for whistleblowers and people who want to come in, please come in, because the purpose of AARO is so that the senators can do our job to provide oversight, accountability, and transparency. We find it very concerning that our pilots, that our Navy officers, that people who have sightings of UAPs are denigrated, are somehow dismissed or disregarded. They need to be protected. This is a huge issue for national security because, number one, we don't have domain awareness, which is very problematic. Number two, we don't have domain superiority if we don't understand how different UAPs are flying, what technology they're using, what their mission is, what their purpose is. And at the base level, we have so many UAPs around our bases, around our military sites, around our nuclear sites, that it's deeply disturbing that adversaries at a minimum could be using these opportunities to spy, to glean intelligence that will harm our long-term national security. So I'm grateful that you're taking the whistleblowers very seriously. I'm grateful that AARO is trying its best to integrate the private sector, the public, into their work. Interestingly, in this hearing, we heard that the FAA is now working hand in glove, which is very helpful. We want this public-facing accessibility to be put in place by 2025 so that people can upload their videos, their data, their reports. I've met with people who have followed this issue for decades, and they have thousands of examples, thousands of pieces of data that ultimately I want uploaded into AARO so you can cross-reference historic information with current information, because this group at AARO are the best scientists that we can find anywhere, and they will do the work that's needed to be done. So I just want to thank you for that. And then with my last 42 seconds, can you tell us about any of the cases that merit further analysis by your IC and science and technology partners? What is it that makes these cases anomalous? And a large number of reports are placed in the active archive because AARO does not have enough information. What might prompt you to reopen a case like that, and do you have any examples?
Sure. I'll start with the active archive case. So that is just the place where we put cases where we don't have enough scientific information to resolve them at that time, but we're always looking for opportunities to correlate them to new cases that come in as the new cases come in, as well as enrich those cases with additional data. We do have one example that I'm aware of where we were able to correlate a number of observations of interesting lights in the sky, and eventually we concluded that it was multiple people observing Starlink flares, just as an example. 3 cases that merit analysis that we're working on right now. One we might be in the process of resolving, but nonetheless is still interesting. The first one was brought to us by a law enforcement officer out west, where he observed a large orange orb floating several hundred feet above the ground a couple miles away. He went to investigate what was going on with that orb. And as he was pulling up to the location where he thought would be below the orb, about 40 to 60 meters away from object that was, the area was well lit, he saw a blacker than black object. He said it was about the size of a Prius, 4 to 6 feet wide. And as he got 40 to 60 meters away from the object, it tilted up about 45 degrees, and then it shot up vertically. He says 10 to 100 times faster than any drone he's ever seen before. And it did that without making a sound, as far as he could tell from inside of his vehicle. And just as it left his field of view through his windshield, then it emitted very bright red and blue lights that illuminated the inside of his vehicle as brightly as if someone had set off fireworks just outside his vehicle or street flares. So that's anomalous because of the size of the vehicle with the great acceleration. And when he came back to investigate that area, he found no disturbance of the ground beneath it. So that's one interesting.
So I love that he's saying that this is one of the ones that they're trying to figure out, and it is anomalous. And if you notice, and we're gonna, especially now that we're having these meetings and Congress is talking about it, we're gonna be circling around this a lot. You'll notice that a lot of what he mentioned, the reason it is anomalous and they're taking it seriously is because it's demonstrating the 5 observables. We're getting the instantaneous acceleration, the stopping mid-air, the upward momentum, the no means of propulsion. So again, it just stresses how important these 5 observables are when you're looking at UFO and UAP. And the fact that he is saying it like this makes me feel a little more comfortable in the research that they're doing, because he is aware that these observables are anomalous. I don't know if he's going to really try and explain this one away. He said it's in the unexplained pile, but they're trying to solve it. But that sounds like a crazy UFO to me by a law enforcement official. When he said law enforcement official out west, I was waiting for that Vegas incident, y'all.
Another one comes to us from Southeast U.S.
I do agree that
there was a
there
U.S. facility where
beings.
2 cars of government contractors were leaving the facility around 9 o'clock in the morning. They looked up in the sky and saw a large metallic cylinder about the size of a commercial airplane, and it was stationary.
Sorry, let me, again, just because I don't want to talk over them. The guy who made the guy that, I can't say his name, what starts with a K, Kaslav, the one with the mirror, that he did the whole mirror that he went in, that was crazy. Fully functional, and he's proved that he could do it. I'm surprised he's not getting enough attention. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not that he's not getting a lot of attention. Yeah, I do agree that CERN is opening portals. It's that he's not going to get that attention till it's time. So, for example, the CIA and the government didn't tell us that, hey, psychics are real and we use them in investigations till years after, when it's just like, okay, what does it matter? We used them so long ago. So there's just a lot of information that they keep from the public, because think of it. If all right, let's say that we can make this mirror and we could time travel, and then everyone just starts doing it. The world would be a disaster. We already don't know why there's Mandela effects, and people assume it's because people are going back in time and fucking shit up. Imagine if everyone had the potential to do that. Imagine if it fell into the wrong hands. There's just so much that goes into it. They're not going to give him a lot of attention, even if he did prove it.
Observed that there was a very bright white light behind or around the object. They saw it stationary for 15 to 20 seconds, and then it disappeared. Obviously, an object that large, stationary, unless it's a blimp, is unusual, but then disappearing, we can't explain how that would happen. And then the last case was interesting. We had a aircraft that was flying parallel to another aircraft, and it was capturing imagery of it, and a small looking object appeared to fly between the two of them much faster than them.
What?
Through very careful analysis, we think that the object might have actually been further away than the object that it was videotaping, but it requires very careful analysis to come to those conclusions, and we don't have the metadata to support that yet.
Senator Ernst.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And Dr. Kozlowski, you mentioned that you do work with the intelligence community. You're working with the FAA. Has Aero involved academia? Have you gone to universities? Do you have outside organizations that you are working with? And if so, can you walk us through some of that collaboration?
Sure. Right now, most of our collaborations that are veering towards academia are with university-affiliated research centers associated with universities or with FFRDCs. Our partnership with universities, I would say, is lacking right now. We have some one-off associations with university professors. However, that's our fault, and it's largely because of the need to declassify data. We need to give the professors something to work on before we can really engage them. So we're working significantly on a declassification effort. We've hired a number of declassification experts, and we're going to be trying to get cases like the ones that I just discussed here declassified so that we can engage with the universities on a regular basis and provide them the data. Talking to a scientist without data is going to be rather disappointing. So hopefully in 2025, we'll be increasing those efforts.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I think there's a huge pool of talent out there that you should tap into. Given the public's growing concern and interest in UAPs, how do you balance the need for the transparency that our public is demanding with the potential risks of revealing classified defense information?
Yep.
That's always a concern that's on the front of our minds. We want to make sure that we're deconflicting both on potential U.S. programs and what the IC might be tracking for adversarial programs as we're aggregating that information and preparing to share it. However, oftentimes we can remove the discussion of the unidentified and anomalous activity from the sensitive information that our partners are concerned with. And that's usually going to be the platforms that the information was collected with if it is truly anomalous. And so we have our partners working alongside in the declassification of that data.
Very good. And then without having to explain the UAP, what do we need to begin really doing about them? What precautions can we take? What should we be doing about them?
I think that removing the stigma, reducing the stigma is the first step. We need to make sure that we're having honest and transparent conversations about them, because if we're hesitant to discuss them, then it opens the opportunity for an adversary, as you had mentioned earlier, Senator Gillibrand, to come in and conduct some activity. So we need to do that, and we need to have more persistent monitoring and understand that whether it is a UAP or a counter-UAS issue, that we need to have that complete domain awareness around our national security facilities.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Just a couple of follow-up questions. We didn't discuss in this setting the most recent UAP or UAS encounter with bases like Langley. I know that the incursion by UASs that were publicly made available through the press that took over 2 weeks was fairly alarming to senators, because there was a question about what technology they were using. There was a question about why it was so hard to detect. Can you speak to how Aero will be integrated into the review of these kinds of cases, and how you can be helpful to both the intelligence community and the Department of Defense in analyzing or being able to more quickly analyze what's knowable and what's not knowable, so that, because once you do identify it as a drone, for example, it then goes to the right department at DOD or the intelligence community to assess, deal with, or take down as the incident might be. But to talk to us a little bit about what role you can play for both the DOD and the IC community in these kinds of incursions that are happening when we don't know what tech is being used, and we don't understand a flight pattern, or we don't understand how they arrive and depart in the way they do.
Yeah, we are generally going to be supporting them through an advisory capacity as an organization that naturally needs to conduct baseline experiments of the environment to see what normal looks like, whether it's balloons, birds, anomalous activity, or drones flying through an environment. We're going to gather a lot of data that will allow us to characterize an environment very well and then detect and follow those tracks, hopefully rather efficiently. There's also a lot of overlap in the type of sensors that are going to be used for the counter-UAS mission and the UAP mission, whether that's active detection like radars or passive like cameras. And so as Aero is trying to push the bounds on detectability for UAP, we're hopefully going to have best practices that we can also provide to the counter-UAS, and potentially we might have additional technologies that we can offer them to support.
I'd like to just address a little bit of reporting and feedback. As you know, AARO is required to develop a mechanism for the public to report UAP information.
Oh, yes.
Now that that mechanism for current and former military, civilian, and contractor personnel has been established, can you speak to AARO's plans for a public reporting mechanism, and how did AARO arrive at this approach, and were other options considered? And second, for pilots and operators who have reported a UAP, what feedback, if any, has AARO provided to these individuals related to what AARO is doing with their report and how the report has been resolved? How does such feedback or lack thereof impact the frequency of UAP reporting?
Yeah, the public reporting mechanism that we've decided to go with is going to look similar to the reporting mechanism that we currently have for historical events, where we're going to ask folks to go to our website, download a PDF form, put in the narrative for their account, and then email that to us with accompanying media. Usually it'll probably be imagery. We went with that option because we thought.
I think to what you said about the sci-fi, the non-sci-fi answer, I think it's very much what the chairwoman said. Excuse me. We don't know what we don't know. And it's important to separate what we don't know and what we do know as quickly as possible so that we can start investigating in a better, more precise way the things that we don't know. He's already given us some anomalous examples, so I don't feel like they fear getting too sci-fi, like the giant orange orb zipping up or the bright light disappearing. But that's crazy. We don't do that. So it really, I think this is one of those meetings where it's going to be listen to what they say, but also listen to how they say it.
One, we could do it rather quickly, we could do it efficiently, make it very cost-effective for the taxpayer, but also we think we can gather all the data that we're going to need to conduct our analysis, and then we're going to have that feed into an automated processing system that will cross-correlate that against all the other public reported cases as well as the U.S. government cases. We did consider a number of other reporting mechanisms as to include automated online forms as well as cell phone apps, and we ultimately decided that this would be the safest, cheapest, and easiest to maintain in the future while protecting the private information of the individuals who are reporting. Regarding the feedback from the resolved reports,
oh my God, I hate
right
when
now
it does
we don't
that.
have a good feedback mechanism. It's fairly informal. We're working on building a case management.
Oh, no. Okay. Another thing to remember, sorry, I keep pausing it, but I want you guys to just be as fully aware as possible. Another thing to remember is that AARO is definitely investigating. They are set up specifically for this. Remember that AARO is investigating sightings. They are finding a new way for people to report, making sure everyone can report, and then investigating those reports. They're looking into the stuff that the whistleblowers we're talking about, but there's just so much coming in. They're focusing on these sightings. Remember that what the information that the whistleblowers are giving us is coming from even deeper. It's further into the belly of the beast than what AARO is covering. So always keep that in mind. Like right now, we're going to get surface level, like the sightings. But when you talk about like who's piloting it, and we talk about the non-human intelligence and the non-human biologics, yes, AARO may uncover that. And then we'll get, more information. But it's the whistleblowers that are really digging into that portion of it. And we're probably going to get that information from them and from our congressmen and women that are investigating it at the moment.
System that AARO will use at all classification levels, and hopefully in that we'll be able to provide feedback as the case is going through the resolution process.
Very much could be.
We have multiple phases. Then the folks who report that, whether it's a pilot at the classified level or someone potentially reporting through another mechanism, they'll get that automated feedback. And then it is not determined at this point yet how much information we'll be able to include in that feedback where it is in the process. It'll depend on the classification of the resolution of the case.
My final question is there anything that you need to tell the Senate that you need from us, whether it's funding, whether it's support, whether it's legislation? Is there any requests that AARO has of us or anything else you need to brief us on for us to be able to do our jobs to protect our service members as well as integrate public interest and public data and information into the future analysis efforts of AARO.
So first of all, I want to say thank you again. I think that the authorities that we have are remarkable, and I think that we are well-resourced as an office. The only ask that I would have is that you continue to champion us, particularly with witnesses, encourage them to come forward and report to us so that we can have a more fulsome investigation of the potential historic or ongoing legacy programs.
Spoiler alert, this guy's lying.
Thank you so much.
It's also very
Hearing
possible.
adjourned.
What? What? Did I hear that? Did she say hearing adjourned? Wayne Angel, that's a good point. Or the people that were so hurt physically by UFO UAP that they had to, their family had to be compensated. What about them? I'm so upset right now. Good games, my ass, Herbal Dragon. Are you fucking kidding me? Excuse my language. I'm so floored right now. I'm mad it's still live and this is what it's showing us. What a slap to the face. No, actually, no. Jim, he wasn't sworn in. Now that you say that, I'm sorry. I'm so pissed and so flabbergasted at the same time right now. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, I know. It's like the green screen. Give me a second. I don't know why it's like this. Let me put a background. I did it this way so that you guys could see the full meeting. And not just, you know, my background. Why is my camera fuzzy? What is happening right now? What is this? Y'all, I don't know what the flip is happening on my computer right now. I apologize. Okay. I think that was the wrong camera. Thank God I'm a guy, and thank God I was wearing shorts. Because if that camera had opened up otherwise, we would have had a problem. Okay, give me a second. Let me make it so that the camera follows me around. That way when I move, it doesn't, like, you guys don't get. There we go. Oh, thank you. I love, first of all, can we just, before we even, I'm so pissed right now. That was a joke. I'm literally so pissed. Okay, wait. Before we even dive into this, though, I want to say, can we talk about how maybe the aliens already did come and give us technology? Because, my God, Apple products are freaking magic. Did you see how, like, the camera centered on my... I didn't move the phone. The phone does that on its own. As long as it's connected to a Mac, the phone, like, if I move over here, like, the camera's going to follow me. Like, this is so... Look, you see how it's, like, zooming in? This is so cool. This is alien technology. This is more exciting than that whole damn meeting. I'm so pissed right now. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, hold on. It's cool bad side gig. I get it. I'm dead. Hold on. That was a ripoff. Arrow Blue Book. That's possible. No, he wasn't sworn in. Okay, all right. So, a couple weird things that make me even angrier right now. To what Jim said. No, he wasn't sworn in. To be completely honest, I didn't see the swearing in, and the meeting started late. I didn't even know about this meeting. I was literally making. I have my plate right here. You guys, if you watch from the beginning, you knew I was eating when I started this because this kind of came out of nowhere. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, guys, I have to cover this. I didn't know they were going to have a whole other, I don't have to wear this anymore. Okay. I didn't know they were going to have a whole other meeting. I thought that was like, what? Oh my God, we're going to get more information. Maybe it's going to be a follow-up from the other meeting because we didn't get the answers that they wanted, you know, da 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 da. I'm here thinking, could you turn off? Thank you. I'm here thinking this is going to be something like, wow, fantastic, right? The follow-up, the information, the answers. Bro, so I come in, I pull this in, I'm like, I'm cooking, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to, if I had to pay to watch, I would ask for a refund. I agree, right? But like I'm picking it, come in, I see this, I'm like, crap, let me get this live stream ready. I didn't know this was happening. I click it, and it's like it was supposed to start at 3:30 your time. I guess like 4:30 my time. You guys are like an hour behind if you're on the East Coast, and now because you guys have daylight savings, we don't change the time here. It's always the same forever. But you guys had daylight savings, so I know some of you guys are behind. Excuse me. It was supposed to start like at 3 or 3:30 Eastern time. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, let me click it. I'm here cooking. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to eat. Then it was like, it showed them all in the meeting, like it showed the tables, and it was empty, and it was like, it's been pushed to 4:30. And I was like, oh wait, this gives me time. Let me finish cooking, and then I can probably eat before the live. I ended up eating during the live too. But I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. This is a meeting right after. The other meeting was 2 hours. Maybe it's a follow-up. They pushed it, right? They pushed the meeting an hour and a half roughly. So maybe documents came in with videos and pictures, which is why I was excited when he said, I have pictures to show you. But I'm like, this might be it. We might get some answers. We might see some new sightings. Bro, they started the meeting to what Jim said. He was not sworn in. Okay. I didn't see the swearing in, and I know this because in the last meeting when we were live, since I was watching from the beginning, just like this one, when they sat in, they made the 3 witnesses swear in first. This dude was not sworn in. He could have been lying out of his ass, and it wouldn't even matter. Um, and then like you guys said, the questions were softball questions. Like we're because I'm here taking notes. Y'all know I love me a good notebook. I'm pissed I can't find my pens. I don't know who took them. Probably my cousin or aunts or something. Because anytime I love my family and they don't take stuff. But anytime I have to, like, oh, can I borrow a pen or a pencil? I gotta write something down. Boom, pen or pencil are gone. But when who was it? It was Gillibrand, Mrs. Gillibrand. She was the chairwoman this time. She was the president of the meeting. And she was demanding that AARO be more forthcoming. So I'm like, this is gonna be a great meeting. It's separate, it's the Senate, it's gonna be more like, hey, AARO, you gotta get on your ass, right? Because the way she was saying, I'm like, yeah, and they're gonna give us these hard-hitting questions. Dr. K started talking about potential threats and like how there's 1,600 UAP reports, and even though a small percentage are anomalies, they still have to investigate them because we don't know what they are, and there's gonna be declassified images. Yo, I'm telling you, I know it's my horrible handwriting because I don't have a table right now, and it's like light because I'm using a pencil, not a pen. But I'm like, this is gonna be that shit. And we got nothing. That was nothing. And I'm so pissed. And I'm sorry that I'm so angry and loud and emotional right now, but I'm so pissed. Great t-shirt. Hey, you already know. Thank you so much. I love Marvel so much. I haven't done anything with them lately. I know some of you guys that have been subscribed to my channel before the UFOs, you know, I used to do a lot of Marvel content. And I kind of miss it. I still have all my merch. But anyway, I'm here. Like, I'm gonna give you guys my takeaway because I'm so pissed. And there's not many takeaways here. He tried to declassify. He tried to debunk the Puerto Rico case. He did debunk the Puerto Rico case. I actually love the explanation he gave, the fact that he gave images and showed us how they triangulated where the craft was and what they thought. He technically doesn't know. He thinks it's a balloon. But the reason that it looks like it's submerged underwater and was transmedian is because the craft just had, or the thing, whatever it may be, happened to be the same temperature as the water, so the sensor could no longer read it when it was at the level of the water in which the camera was capturing both of them. I can see that. But then he tried to give an explanation for go fast and say that it was parallax, as if our pilots and our military personnel aren't gonna know what the fuck parallax is when we literally all have parallax features on our smartphones. Like, come on, no, that's not a good explanation. Then the Mount Etna. He's like, yeah, and then we got the Mount Etna one too, and like, they thought it was a UFO because it went through the thick hot clouds, but it was actually 170 meters away from the plume. Okay, that doesn't mean it's not anomalous. Well, okay, all right, it's 170 meters away from the plume. So what was it? Right? That doesn't. You didn't give us an answer. So I don't accept his debunk. And then Miss Gillibrand had the audacity to sit here and say, "We've been taking UFO cases seriously for 75 years, ma'am. Ma'am, we all live in the same United States. Yet we have not been, if we have been taking it seriously for 75 years, we wouldn't be in the predicament that we're in right now. And there wouldn't be 1.5 million questions. If we were taking it seriously before, we would have already built the technology to sense all of these things in the air, and we'd actually have freaking answers right now, not more questions and bullshit ass meetings. I'm sorry, guys. I am pissed. Let me make sure I get in here. Just for them saying something or like I agree. Thank you for yeah. You gotta listen in between shit said, Moogs. I'm gonna go back and rewatch. Um, I I don't believe. What am I doing tonight? Oh, what am I not doing tonight? I actually, real quick, just as a side note, I have to scour through this contract that was sent to me. This thing is like 200 pages of confidentiality and like craziness. And it's for sponsorship. Like, I'm a YouTuber. I get it. It's fine. I'm going to make money off of it. But oh my God, these contracts are so boring. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight is reading that. But do hit me up because if I get done early, I might skim through it only and just sign it anyway because a bitch needs to pay bills. But that's what my plan is for tonight. I have to read through that contract. He said it was a balloon, bro. I was fascinated with UFOs, but now I'm desensitized. Hey, Jay, that's okay. It's probably better to be desensitized so that you don't shit your pants when they start landing. Did anyone else hear him say Starlink flares? Yes, sounds as if he confused his two main planned and organized answers. Jim, that's a really great point. When he said Starlink flares, and then he was like multiple people seeing these Starlink flares. Bro, we already know what Starlink looks like. Like if you go to any UFO forum and you post Starlink, you're gonna get 50 replies. It's Starlink. Like we already know what Starlink looks like. These are such basic ass answers. Let me go back through here and then I'll jump back in the chat. Um, I'm just so pissed. Good evening, John. What's good, buddy? I might pop on and review. Well, what was it on? Oh, it was on. Oh, sorry, I got confused there, Vito. It was on ABC News, and it was live, like on their main channel. I'm not mistaken. If anything, just to make sure, after this live stream, I'll DM you the link. But it should have been ABC News, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so okay, 75 years of serious cases. Wrong. I do like that she's encouraging people to come forward. She's the one thing that Mrs. Gillibrand claimed that I do agree with is that we don't have domain awareness, we don't have domain security, and that's very dangerous. And it's very important that we control our domain. We don't know what's in our airspace. And at this point, I'm starting to side with the military and Congress in that I do care if it's aliens and or interdimensional beings because y'all know I love that shit. But like, put my interests aside. I'm more concerned that we don't know what the hell's flying over our airspace. Like we're supposed to be the most powerful country, have the most powerful military, and we have no idea what the hell is in our airspace. And that kind of calls back to what she said about us not being prepared. And if we're the top tier on when it comes to technology, this can't be an adversary. So what the hell is it? And we need to find out. And I love that. I love that she called out that we need more cross references. And the one thing I will say, to be fair, even though I don't agree with Mrs. Gillibrand's 75-year assessment, I do like that she seemed like she wasn't taking shit from Arrow, and she knew. I feel like she knew like he was bullshitting in the same way that you guys call out his bullshit. because she was very, very blunt. And one thing that really her and Senator Ernst brought to their attention that I like, that I feel like they're like, you're not taking this seriously enough, was when she said, has Arrow brought in academia? And if so, what does that partnership look like and who are you talking to? And I think that that is one of the most important questions that anyone could ask. And I haven't seen anyone ask it. So that's one thing I will say that I'm grateful for in this meeting, because academia needs to be brought into these investigations. You're not telling me that you're going to have AARO investigating this crap. Like, oh, yeah, like they're the top scientists. You don't have one professor in anything to cross-reference this with? Are you crazy? Like, do you know what Avi Loeb is doing right now? You guys know from Harvard, I believe, Dr. Avi Loeb, who is a professor who found the material under the water of that meteor that came down. He's like, this shit looks metallic. Like, how are we not cross-referencing with these professors whose life is to do this type of research, this type of scientific research? And I feel that the failure in introducing academia into this is a big red flag for Arrow. And so I'm glad that Miss Ernst asked that. Dr. K said the archives are for the unknown. Mind you, he's the new director of AARO, whatever that means. And the two that he gave us was that there was a large orange orb the size of a Prius that shot up vertically and emitted red and blue lights so bright that the officer who saw it thought that they were fireworks in his car, and that there was a stationary bright light that vanished. And then they ended, that's where my notebook ends, because they ended the damn meeting. I'm so pissed. Hold on, let's see. I'm gonna blow a gasket. That's just gonna happen. They could mind control and not say too much. I don't think that they're mind controlled, Wolf. I I'm one for a really good rabbit hole. I am. What you have to remember, and I love this saying, and it's so true, and it's truer now than ever, because we are more powerful as a race, as a human race. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And knowledge is power. And it's just, when that knowledge isn't broken up into enough people, there's more than enough corruption to keep whoever you want shut. You got to remember the meeting that we had before this, talking about how the private sector and how they have their hands on this technology. Do you know how much money they have? Like, do you know how much money they probably paid Dr. K to sit there and shut the fuck up? So, like, I don't. If they are lying, I don't think it's mind control. I think it's absolute corruption of power and money. Money. Money, money, money. I just told you guys I'm going to sit here tonight and read this boring ass legal jargon contract. Why? Because I want money. I mean, I need money, but who doesn't, right? But like, money makes the world go round. So I can see him having shut up because of money. Mind you, that sponsor is going to be fantastic. So can't wait till you guys see those sponsored videos. Um, let's see. Sorry, I want to go through and make sure I chat with you guys. Cassian Rogue, it could be Project Bluebeam. I think you guys, I've already mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. My hair is getting in my mouth, this damn fan. I don't believe in Project Bluebeam. Not that I don't believe in it. I think it's a whole thing, and for sure. I don't think it's something that could be pulled off, at least not currently. I don't understand the fear of Project Bluebeam. I don't think it's a viable option for anyone. I've said this before and I'll say it again without getting into all the details, because we can have a whole conversation about that. The main reason I don't think Project Bluebeam will work is because people of faith have too much faith. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in any of that stuff, because I'm saying, I'm sorry if you are religion, but just to let you know, you're religious. Your religion was made by a man, like another human being. Like right now, if I write a book and then 5 years from now someone reads it like, oh my God, it's a new religion. Like, I made that religion. It doesn't make it real. Okay, just putting that out there. But people have absolute and utter faith in their religion, to the point where if Jesus Christ is real, hypothetically, again, just because I don't know what religion you are, I don't want to offend your religion, so let's go with hypotheticals. Let's say Jesus Christ is real and he comes down and it's a second coming. Most people that believe in Jesus will not believe that's the second coming of Jesus. To the day they die and he's here on earth saving people, they won't believe it. They'll call him Satan or the Antichrist or a million other things, but they won't call him Jesus because it's just that's that's just not how belief works. So I don't think Project Bluebeam could happen because one of the main things that they're gonna make the god of every religion appear in the sky. No one is gonna believe that. The first thing they're gonna say is the devil's tricking us, and it's just gonna be a whole shit show. So I don't think that's even a possibility. Um, Frankie Voss, welcome, buddy. I hope it's alien girls looking for husbands. I hope it is for you two. That's funny. Jay, when do you think full disclosure will happen? A part of me wants to say that it already has, although it obviously hasn't. But there are people that know. And we all also know enough. And they've told us that UFOs are real. And they've told us that aliens or interdimensional beings are real using the term non-human intelligence and non-human biologics. We have disclosure. That's disclosure. Now, will we get more details on that disclosure, right? Yes, I think so. I don't know when. I think it'll be a trickle down. Year after year, we'll get more and more information. Elizondo claims there's a big event that's coming up, which is why they're kind of pushing it and rushing. I don't know about that, but I do think that we are going to get more details as time goes on. I think it's been disclosed. Before this, you couldn't even say, yo, UFO. No, UFOs are real. Okay. There's non-human intelligence. Okay. There's non-human biologics. What we want as a community is we want to see aliens. We want to see the crafts. Or we want to interact. We want to see how they communicate. We want to look at the inside of the craft, right? And that in itself is a different part of disclosure. It's the detailed part. But we already know the answer. Are we alone? No. That's disclosure. So yeah, it's a weird. I mean, like I'm not. Yeah, we already have disclosure, but not the kind that we want, and so that's why everyone's kind of up in arms. But they're not denying that there's non-human intelligence. They're not denying that there's non-human biologics, and they're not denying that there are UFOs that are so anomalous that we have absolutely no explanation, and they don't come from us. These are all facts. That fact is a smaller percentage of everything that we're seeing, but it is a fact, and it is confirmed. That's disclosure. Okay, let's see. A bit gilfy, just saying goodbye. Goodbye. Chaos takes on the Congress. John P, I'm pissed and I might just do it. Yes, what Vito said, they've told us without telling us. How many people since Jesus have said that they're Jesus? It's insane. And that's what I mean. There are already false prophets. But for all we know, they could be the truth. There would be no way of you knowing, right? So if something miraculous happens, it just our religion is a fucking disaster. And I say that I know it sounds horrible because it's a fucking disaster, but I say that in the most respectful way possible. Believe what you believe if it makes you happy and brings comfort into you and it lifts you up. But the moment it starts bringing you down, let that shit go. All right, Jay, I believe in God, but I also believe that God has created different beings apart from us. I I agree, Jay. I'm not religious in any way, but I believe that there's an almighty or I guess a higher being, higher than more heightened than everything else. I think it's more energy related as someone who um practiced Buddhism in my teen years into my early adults. I've stopped, but I meditated a lot and I've felt a lot of things through meditation that I never felt through prayer. Um I think that there's an energy and an ebb and flow that goes through all of us, and that ebb and flow either is or comes from the source, which many people call God, but it's not what the people here on this damn planet wrote in a book, in a million books that all copy each other's stories. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Come on. How are you going to tell me that the Bible is real when the Bible is a copy of the Epic of Gilgamesh, but you call the Epic of Gilgamesh myth? So how is the Epic of Gilgamesh myth when it came first and the Bible copied it? Then how is the Bible not myth? See how it doesn't make sense? All right, secret space programs. David Grush, haven't heard about him anymore. Wolf, he's been around. He's been actually giving a lot of skiffs to kind of give you some insight. He's been working a little bit closer with Congress. So in the meeting a few days ago before this one, Luna, I believe it might have been Luna, it might have been Mace, I can't remember. One of them mentioned, I think it was Luna, that Grush specifically told her about ID, interdimensional beings, and that's why she was getting into this line of questioning. So he still is in communication with them. He is still giving information. I think he's just laying low, and respectfully so. I get it. I 100% get it. When Jesus returns, the real one, you will know. He returns during Armageddon and puts an end to the largest conflict ever. Frankie, okay. I respect your belief. I don't just want to see inside the craft. I want to travel in space like Star. God, yes. Oh my God, that just got me excited just thinking about that. Could you freaking imagine? I do too. I do too. That's like really one of the only reasons I want UFOs to be real, because I want to use our technology. I've been traveling lately and I can travel the whole world, but the Earth is only so big. And after I travel everywhere, there will be nowhere new to look at, and there's already nothing new to discover. We've already discovered almost everything. That life's kind of boring. How fucking awesome would it be if we could just get on a ship and go to another planet and start discovering all over again, like discover new stuff? That would be so cool and so crazy. I would love that. It's literally all I want. um it would be so cool. It would be so cool. Uh, trickle feeding us like children. Yes, yes, I agree. But again, it is something that seems necessary, especially if you think again about the religions, how we're talking about religion. Not every religious person and not every religion, but some religions would absolutely fall apart, and they can't have that. That's why the Pope is like, "I'll baptize aliens if they come." They're trying to they're trying to put out the fire before the fire starts, essentially. Um, they aren't all demons. Well, I don't think they're demons at all, but okay. Love you, Aunt, for bringing this out. Oh, I appreciate you, Zandine Smith. Do I know you? You use my real name. Okay. Sorry because I maybe don't know your username or don't remember, but I appreciate you. I believe in a computer god, matrix grid, simulation, parallel Earth dimension, fabric reality, realm, Mandela effects. Renee, that was a lot of words, baby. All right, but I agree. I saw VR in its infancy, and I thought we would never have developed holodecks by now. Oh, and you thought we would have developed holodecks by now. It's interesting because I remember having a VR headset in the 90s and it was all red. And now I have my VR headset and I use it every day. Like before this live, before cooking, I was working out in the headset. Um, we've come a long way, and I personally anticipated a lot of this stuff to come sooner, but the enhancements, the multiplication, like the we've like it's crazy how much we've enhanced in such a small amount of time. And then it tenfolds every time we make something new. And now with AI, things are only going to advance even faster. So who knows? Who knows what we're going to have soon? I feel like also COVID put a strain on a lot of us, but we don't talk about that enough. Let's see. I love it. Well, thank you. I appreciate you, Extreme. Exactly about Luna. She told us stuff without telling us exactly. Frankie, that's a pile of crap. My um, yeah, well, you know. And God, wait. No, I was reading one of them. No. And God Jehovah, Giogo, Yahweh, Elohim, Lord Yeshua, Hosea, and the highest. I mean, okay. I feel like oh, there's a lot I have to say. I feel like all religions are debunked because two can't be right. And there is historical, I don't want to say proof, but there is historical evidence that Jesus existed. And there is historical proof that King Siddhartha gave up his kingdom to become the first Buddha. And I know Buddhism is technically in itself a way of life as opposed to a religion in and of itself. The Buddhist belief does include reincarnation, which would go opposite of any of the Abrahamic religions, which believe in like a heaven and hell. Mind you, hell was made later on, so take that for what you will. Um, but Siddhartha existed first. And you can't have Siddhartha actually exist, which he does, or he did, and then also the other religions are right. So it just doesn't make sense to me. The Tolas, Lokas, interdimensional for a fact. Some of them are declassified. Well, I know that there are interdimensional beings. Don't get me wrong. I understand the idea of a hyperdimension, hyperdimensional being, hyperdimensional crafts. I know the studies that the CIA have done. I've read a lot of the documents. I understand the brain hologram theory and the double hemisphere gateway process. Like, I get it. But I do believe that on top of there being interdimensional beings, there are also extraterrestrial beings. Are the extraterrestrial beings as advanced as these interdimensional beings? Probably not. But I do believe that both exist. Two things can be true. Um, let's see. The World War III might very well be Armageddon he spoke of. Um, that who spoke of? I mean, every time the world ends, it's because of a war. Well, like, what's the saying? World War III will be fought with our nuclear weapons, but the next war after that will be fought with sticks and stones. We'll just be reverted back into the Stone Age, and whatever ends up saving us from that war will convert into a whole new religion, like we usually do. Not religious, but I believe in spirituality and technology. I've seen TR3Bs. Yeah. 1718. Oh, okay, there's a lot going on. Say you're entitled to your opinion. Yes, I agree. Only one religion has accurate prophecies, Judeo-Christianity. Frankie, that's absolutely false. That is absolutely 100% false. Many religions have accurate prophecies and accurate uh, what I guess divinity, if you will, because to divine the future. Um, Specifically Hinduism, which is the oldest of all religions, has actually been the most accurate as opposed to any of the Judeo-Christian uh, beliefs. And again, just a reminder that all of the Judeo-Christian beliefs were taken from elsewhere, other places that have already been kind of like running. So like the Epic of Gilgamesh, Hindu religion, like all the religions that came before, like literally Christianity, Catholicism, and Judaism are a culmination of all the religions that came before it. And like there's proof of that within your own religion. You can even ask your priest or pastor about your religious history, and they'll tell you. It's not like a hidden secret. It's not spoken of, and most people don't like to believe it because it makes you question your faith. But no, the Judeo-Christians are not the only ones who have been accurate in prophecies. That would be then there would be no question. No one else, like, really think about that. If that were the case, no one else would question any other religion, and everyone would just convert because it'd be like, holy crap, that's the only one that's accurate. And then everyone would be like, yeah, look at that shit. And then we'll all jump ship, kind of how we do now with everything. But it doesn't happen because it's not the only one. There's actually more explanation of what life is and what it can be, again, in Hinduism than there is in Christianity. I mean, like, think of all of the Judeo Christian religions. There's like the devil and hell, when that was created literally centuries after the religion was created. So how do you create a whole realm of existence later on? It's just like when the previous pope got up one morning, he's like, yeah, purgatory is canceled. Like, you can't cancel a realm of existence. Dude, shut up. Of course, he's going to say it's canceled. The people are going to believe it because it's not real. They're just saying whatever the hell they want to say. Now, might all of the religions have some form of base in reality? Sure, but it does not make any one of them a concrete thing, considering most of them are written by us. Frankie was right. Let me see, because the Bible does. Look it up. Gog Magog war. Right, Frankie, but the thing is that you've read the Bible, you haven't read any of the other, you haven't read the Vedas. Like I read the Vedas. I've read a few scriptures of many religions. I've read parts of the Quran, not the whole thing. And of course, I read the Bible because I had to when I was little. It was mandatory. Um, yeah, no, they're all the same. They're all the same stuff, dude. It's not like the Bible is original at all. Like even like the virgin birth is a, a whole different story from a whole other religion before before Christianity. None of it is original, and none of it didn't already exist in another religion in another form. Like you guys just they took the are we talking I don't know what we're talking. I don't even know how we got into religion. I'm sorry. I'm just seeing all the comments and I'm trying to answer them. Did you see Greer and Billy Carson interview? I have not checked that out. I was actually I saw Billy post something. My phone's recording. I saw Billy post something the other day. I was going to follow up, and I didn't get to. The truth is your experience. If you've contacted and paid nothing but time and meditation. Meditation is number one. Judeo-Christianity is just an amalgamation of Jewish period history and Semitic paganism. Oh yes, 100%. I mean, just think about freaking Christmas, when they're like, "Oh my God, like Christmas because like Jesus was born." Bro, come on, you just wanted to get rid of Yule, and Yule was its own thing. But whatever, we're not getting into that. Let's jump out of that. The Catholic Church doesn't even allow their followers to do yoga because it's Hindu and praying to a false god. So I wouldn't ask your priest because he wouldn't agree with this. Well, you know, they can do whatever they want. I don't care. Um, we're here about UFOs. Let's stop the religious talk for a little bit. But I do love meditation. I don't give a shit what a priest or a pastor says. You're not going to tell me I can't meditate. God is, as the Knights Templar will tell you, God is within you, but not within what a man wrote in some book, because man is no better than you. You are also man. We're all human. We don't know. We have no idea what divinity is, and we can't claim to know what the Almighty is thinking. That's just crazy. What's the first thing that you'll do when full disclosure and contact is made with the public? No, round one, guys. Don't I'm veering the conversation back to aliens. Don't feel bad about talking. I don't have to believe what you believe. I'm not one of those people. I don't know why the world's turned into, if you're not on my side, you're evil. I don't care about that. You guys can talk about religion. We can have the debate. We can talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. I'm just veering back the discussion to UFOs and stuff because that's what we started the live on. But feel free. Don't ever apologize for talking about your religion. Don't ever apologize for giving your opinion. Say what's on your mind, say what's in your heart. That's what the chat is here for. um but that said, oh, you've seen 3 UFOs. That's crazy. That's so cool. What will I do? Well, you guys said what will I do when disclosure fully happens and we make contact. uh Hope that I can transition my channel back to what it used to be before UFOs, because then these videos won't matter anymore and I'll need a new way to work. You know, this is my job. So I don't know, look for a new niche, play more video games. I don't know. I don't know what I would do once disclosure happens, but I will take one day after disclosure and celebrate with all of you guys live. Maybe I'll buy a bottle of wine or some sort of champagne that you guys could do the same, and we could have a whole live stream and kind of go over disclosure. Ooh, excuse me. What time is it? Because I have to. The computer's dying, so I have to read this contract, and I want to give myself enough time because I don't like signing contracts without reading them. Please, if you're a creator as well and you're in the chat and you get sponsorship deals, and you're gonna sign an exclusivity deal, read your I'm not saying obviously companies send contracts and most companies are perfectly fine. This company that I'm talking to is absolutely incredible, and I love them personally, so I trust them. But even still, make sure you read your contracts all the way through and make sure you read them thoroughly, just because you never want to be in a pickle. um Lift a piece of wood, I'll be there. Split a stone, you'll find me. You don't need houses of mansions of stone and wood to worship me. Amen. Oh, and I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you, Sandy, and I appreciate you so much. Um, thank you so much. I love UFOs. I think it's oh god, my computer. I don't know if you guys saw me freezing out like that, but I'm getting a new computer on Thursday because this can't hold up anymore. I've been doing so much stuff on here. It's like, what are you doing? Like I feel the heat coming off of it from here. But thank you so much. Volkish Frau, thank you. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but I appreciate you. And Zandine, thank you so much. I thank you. I love you, thank you. And Jay Wolf, thank you. Vito, Vito, you're amazing. You already know this. And y'all need if y'all love gaming, especially arcade gaming and gaming cabinets, y'all need to go check out Perfect Storm Gaming because they're the bomb.com. But guys, yeah, I feel like once disclosure comes, I feel like we're gonna do a whole celebration. We'll do a whole montage video of all the things that we found out. We will see once disclosure happens. We'll get to look back at all the old videos and be like, were we right about these? You know, we'll get to see which ones we were right and which ones we were wrong about, which I think will be really, really cool. And then I will take the channel in another direction and see where we go from there because then there will be no more mystery. UFOs. um, there is no Mars or out of space. Please believe. Basically you don't need a church at all. That's the truth right there. And as someone who's read the Bible, I can tell you that's like Jesus even preached that. He barely wanted to be worshipped. He wanted you to get to know God, which is like a whole other thing. Anthony Mack, I have several telescopes, my friend. There's definitely a Mars. There's I think I've seen Mercury, Venus. Have I seen all of them? I haven't looked for Pluto in a very long time, but I remember seeing Pluto when I was little on a very powerful telescope. And I remember seeing it once on university campus when I used the university telescope in Bloomsburg. But yes, there is most definitely a Mars and every other planet in the solar system. I can tell you that for a fact. And if you don't believe me, you can view Mars with even the cheapest telescope that they sell on Amazon. So yeah, you need to do that. Um, right, yes, that is correct. Anthony Mack. What about the? I'm waiting. And I don't know if the chat's coming in real time. What about the firmament? Um, there is no firmament. Uh, you know, I, guys, we have a whole space station flying around the Earth, right? Like that's a thing, and you can see the space station with a telescope, just like you can see the moon and all the other planets. And we also have satellites, including 1.5 million Starlink satellites that are in the upper atmosphere and orbiting our planet. Like there's no firmament. There is layers of atmosphere and pressure, but that's about it. Yeah, I'm tired of living with humans. To quote the amazing and brilliant fictional Professor Farnsworth, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. God, I love that episode. I love Futurama. Thank you so much, Billy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, what do I at 12%? Okay, we're good. But yes, sorry. Let's tie a bow on this. I think that we've already gotten disclosure. As Vito was mentioning earlier, make sure that you read between the lines, especially when they're speaking. Um, Operation Fishbowl. Oh, okay. The Earth is round. There is an outer space. There is no firmament. There are experiments that you can do on your own. If you happen to have money, you can also travel to places where the ozone layer is a little bit weakened, and you could do even more experiments from there. I've done a few myself. I mean, and even if there were, which would just be crazy, then the world wouldn't make sense. Um, where is the sun? Where is the moon? What? Come on, buddy. But I'm so sick of them using Starlink. They're all lies. It's fallen angels. I've studied and did my own science for 25 years. They are angelic. Eric, I'm sure some things could be considered angelic, but it kind of goes to your belief because if you go back and you look at the book of Enoch, they talk about these fallen angels and these hybrid beings and the birth of Noah and like how Noah was kind of like this hybrid of this angel. But if you go back to the Sumerians, which by the way, for everyone in the chat, no matter what religion you are, they were first. So let's just talk about how if you believe in something, you should probably believe what's been etched into the walls by the first people of the earth, or presumably first people writing. Right? We don't really know what happened prior to that. We don't know what happened in the Younger Dryas, but yeah, that's the same stuff that the Sumerians were saying, but they weren't calling them angels; they're just aliens. All right, so it's just an interpretation of what happened through the lens of your religion, right? So, for example, in Hinduism, Manu, the first man, it's also the story of Adam, but it's also the story of Noah, right? Because the story of Adam and Noah is actually one person's story, which the modern religions broke into two different people. For whatever reason, they have their reasons. I don't know. I don't care. But that's just an interpretation of something again that was written way before any of our religions. um the Epic of Gilgamesh, yes, that's what I'm saying. The James Webb Telescope is finding a lot of planets. I agree. Who are these people? I have no idea. The earth is round and people just have poor depth perception. Yeah. Yes, that reminds me of Leela. Okay, I'm so sick of them using Starlink. I am sick of them using Starlink. Where does the firmament idea come from anyway? The Bible says the atmosphere is like a tent wrapped around the earth and that space is like water fluid. um mm, if space were like a water or fluid, there would be more life, and it would be much more observable. um Book of Enoch is non-canon. The author is not known, and it contradicts the Bible. um just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not canon. It was found with all of the other books, and it was also found in Dead Sea Scroll, and it has actually more antiquity and more of an actual case than anything else prior to it. You can't just decide that it's not canon because you don't like it, which is what the church does. But unfortunately, that's not how reality works. All right. I've seen Mars with the naked eye a few years ago. It was low in the sky. I only worship Cthulhu. I love y'all. This chat is so unhinged. I love you guys. And I haven't seen him in a while. I wish Cthulhu Haster was here because that's his name is based off on Cthulhu. Oh, this is epic. The Epic of Gilgamesh. Yes, it's been Um, right. But the Bible is also not canon because a king wanted to get a divorce and then marry his cousin, so he changed it. Hence the King James Bible. So technically, if you want to get accurate, no one knows what's canon because a million of people in power have changed the Bible over and over again to suit their needs. So even if the original Bible was 100% accurate, you wouldn't know what it says. In Islam, the sun sets into muddy water after bowing down to Allah. One day you guys will understand that everything that you worship is the sun itself. Even the cross is an alignment of stars as the sun rises. But we're not going to go in there. Ezekiel talks about the chariots and them being like clouds. Many versions of the Bible. Yeah. Listen, if you think your religion is like some holy, there's a reason the Vatican hides stuff from you. Because it doesn't want you to know, because it would disprove their whole nonsense, okay? It's just a ploy for control. They took all of the other religions from before and created all of this nonsense in order to control everyone, which is why the Knights Templar actually turned on the Catholic Church and became agnostic, which is then what broke down to the Masonry that we're seeing today. Like, it's literally, you can actually read through your own religious history and see all of this, but I'm not going to get into that. Actually, I'm not going to get into any much else because it's my battery's at 7%. Expiatory Unitarian Assembly, Enoch the Witness. Firmament is just referring to the layers or levels. People who Bible thump too hard take it too far. I 100% agree. And again, that's what that's like the main thing that I'm saying about religion. One, you can't trust the religious texts. We write them, and when we decide, we change them. If let's say we'll use the term God because I think a lot of people can relate to it. But also remember that God is not your God's name. Even if you're Christian or Catholic, that's not your God's name. Okay. But the Word of God or the Almighty or whatever does exist cannot be changed by man. And that's how you know all of the books and all the stuff that's down here is false. Now, there may be some base in reality, there may be some clinging on to the truth, but the majority of it is stuff that we created. You do not know the will of the Almighty. Neither does any priest or any pastor. They're just like you. You could go to church and you could study, and then you could become a priest. That doesn't make you any holier than anyone else on the planet. You wouldn't know as much as the next person because God has not come down and spoken to you. That's just not what happens. When I was yelling an extraterrestrial alien UFO, if you're left making a turn. Oh. But the Bible doesn't say that firmament. It's what these people claim it is. Firmament just refers to our atmosphere. The Bible says the outer space is the heavens, and is full of life. Yeah, and but that's again, it's what you're saying. People just take it to the next level. But that makes 100% sense. Yes, exactly, Anthony Mack. Well, rainwater. Okay. Oh, guys, I'm not gonna get into this because I feel like I'm gonna end up offending people. But a lot of you guys need to brush up on some theology. I went behind the old man's warehouse store. Well, interesting. But guys, I am almost out of juice. Jay, do I believe in the devil? No, no. You guys, your religion doesn't even believe in the devil. It was created 500, 600 years after your religion was created, meaning when your religion first started, there was no devil or Satan. That story came later. I don't know if you guys know any of this, but like, it's not like the devil was there on inception. There was an idea of a afterlife for the unpleasant, but it had nothing to do with hell or the fallen angel that is the morning star. Um, but right, I don't I don't know what's going on with people, but that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their belief. Do I believe in the devil? That's just as crazy as any of the other ones. Um, I do believe that um well, you guys are gonna like it, but you know, if there is I think there's just a source, and the source is the source of everything. Whether it's good or evil, that doesn't make it itself good or evil. It's just the source. And that's what everyone considers God, and what everyone religion aspires to, and what Buddhists ascend to when they meditate so much, or what you could ascend to, even if you're not Buddhist. I think there is a source of all things, but what that source is open to interpretation. Um, Yes, yes. Oh, I know. I'm well aware of how they framed the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, and the what was it, the Ibiris, the other ones like the Ibiris or Jabiris or whatever are considered demons. Like I know how they classified everything. I've studied the history of religion because it took a lot for me to leave my religion. I was born and raised Catholic, and then when I started asking questions, they got angry, and I was like, "That's not how truth works. You don't get angry when someone asks you about the truth." And then I went on a whole personal journey. So yeah, but guys, all is all of the Bible, but he wasn't named until the book of Job, where he was called Satan. We are all the source. I 100% agree. Correction, not all of the Bible, but all over the Bible. Oh, okay. Um, I'm gonna leave. Um, oh my God, you're very welcome, Vito. Always, you're incredible. Um, Frankie, correction, not all the Bible. Yeah. We are all the source. 29 Herb D916, you get it. Yes. There's a reason frequency affects all of us. Someone said that if God is all powerful, then he can't be all good. And if he is all good, then he can't be all powerful. I don't know what to believe. Well, that's 100% accurate. That's what I was gonna say. Right, Anthony Mackie, he may have been named in Genesis, but Genesis wasn't written the same way all the time. And we're not going to get into that because not because I don't want to. I only have 3% left and I don't want this to die on us. So I'm going to leave you with this when it comes to that religious aspect. It is true what Nightmare Superman said. God cannot be all powerful and be all good, and he cannot be all good and be all powerful. And as such, even the Bible tells you this. And again, I'm going to go back to Hinduism. If big if any religion is accurate, it is Hinduism. That is the oldest religion on earth. And some say there are new texts that have come out, new Vedas, that actually predate Sumerian uh, uh, text, which is a whole scientific breakthrough. We'll find out more about that later. If any religion is right, it is Hinduism. Hinduism speaks of the duality. When Brahma exhales, we are born. When he inhales, we die. Brahma is all. He is good, he is evil, he is everything in between. And if that is the case, or that is what a true God would be, right? So even the Bible depicts it as such. Yes, God is also evil. He is the good and the evil. And for those who say that he is not, even if you read your Bible, go ahead and read your Bible. Satan cannot act without the explicit and exact will of God himself. So in order for Satan to come and do his misdeeds, he does have to ask permission from God first, which is why when he wanted to test Homeboy, God told him, but you cannot kill him, and gave Satan the instructions that he needed to tempt his heart and see if he would sway away from God. Satan cannot act without the express permission from God, meaning all of the evil that Satan does is allowed by God because he has to ask first. So yes, God is good and evil. He is not all good. It is not all. The source is not all good. And this kind of just goes back to show, because they're taking it from all the other religions, they're just putting it in their own word, that as Brahma is the source, there is no yin or yang per se. He is all. He is yin. He is yang. He is the good. He is the bad. He is the source of all. So if there is a source, the source is the source of all. Now, you guys are absolutely incredible. I have 1% left. I love you guys. It might die before I even say this. Thank you for tuning in. I love you, even if you disagree with me. I don't care what religion you are. You're amazing. Thank you for being here. Hopefully, we get answers soon. Thank you guys so much. Smash that like and subscribe because I'm still a YouTuber. More notes and more information to come. I'll see you guys soon. I can't believe I made it, y'all. It's literally on 1%. I wish I could show you this.